Yeah, if you want to start the meeting.
There you go, just push it in. Just push. And then to disconnect it, you twist it, it'll pop up.
Okay, with the absence of Liza, our chairman, I'm going to call to order the Casson Park Board on Tuesday, December 14th. I need to have an approval for the October 2021 minutes.
I will so move for the motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All carried. Which brings us then to the new business. We have Robert Harris, our EDA person that works here at the city, whatever, is going to kind of put together kind of a project here for the Vale Property that was purchased down there by the old water tower, by the water tower by the
Lions Park.
Lions Park, excuse me, yeah. So go ahead, Robert, it's all yours.
Great. Give me just 1 second to swap the tech over to the presentation here.
Okay?
Well, thanks for having me, everybody. Today I'm here to talk to you about an opportunity to develop the property that you just introduced to us. And the name of the project is the Casson Carbon Forest. And the goal here is to leverage carbon offset markets to develop that property into a city forest. So, make sure I'm using the right technology here. So I'm actually not wearing my EDA hat today. Also, in addition to being the EDA rep, I'm also Executive Director of Hiawatha Valley Resource Conservation Development Council. We're an environmental services nonprofit that covers the 11 counties that make up Southeast, and we do a variety of work related to landscape restoration, water quality, clean energy, as well as regional planning and economic development work as well. On the line I have two of my colleagues, Paul Sandstrom and Chris Wright, and I will let them introduce themselves. We should be able to hear y'all.
Hello, I'm Paul Sandstrom, the Executive Director for the Minnesota Association of Resource Conservation Development Councils.
Hi there, I'm Chris Wright, and I'm a researcher here at the Natural Resources Research Institute in Duluth, Minnesota.
Welcome both.
Yeah, welcome.
Paul and Chris. So moving on here, the program that we're looking to leverage is a program called Climate Forward. It's a brand new program that was released in 2020, and what it is an opportunity for the private sector to invest in climate projects to spur the development of climate projects. So particularly in the reforestation space, carbon offsets haven't really been leveraged all that often because they have to be verified prior. So you pay to plant trees, to plant a forest, and you have to wait 26 to 40 years until they mature. You verify that carbon that's sequestered within the trees, and then carbon offset credits are issued, and then you can sell them to recoup costs. Now, the issue is nobody wants to wait 26 years to recoup costs. So what the Climate Forward program does is it actually uses a forecasted model to estimate how much carbon is going to be sequestered in some piece of land, and it issues those credits 1 year after planting. So it allows you to be able to recoup costs and invest in projects a priori. So moving on here, we're talking about the Vale Property. Those 9 acres in the northeast corner there. I'm working with some developers. There's going to be multifamily housing there, hoping that this 47-unit project picks up. But remaining there is this 15 acres of ag field and then another 30-some acres of riparian zone along Maston Creek there. So I've taken a look at this site, done some GIS analysis, and found that there is about 20 acres of reforestation potential there. So what I'm proposing is to plant 20 acres of oak hickory mixture in the open field there, and then in the remaining 5 acres of reforestation potential, cottonwood trees along Maston Creek there. And the reason for the species oak and hickory, I've been working with our local DNR forester to identify, what species are native to this area. And then along the creek area, it tends to flood, as well as that eastern part of the ag field. So we'd be looking at putting in water-resilient trees into that space. So how does this benefit the city of Casson? Well, we estimate out of those 20 acres of reforestation potential, that we can have roughly 2,800 what's called a forecasted mitigation unit, or the equivalent of a carbon offset, issued for that site. And we predict that we can sell them for about $15 per unit, so it would generate us just over $40,000 in revenue if we were to start to work on this project. But then our costs are roughly $40,000 in our soft costs around developing the application to have the credits issued and all the planning that would need to be done for the site, and then roughly $20,000 in actually planting trees with some cushion built into that, because there may need to be multiple plantings from year to year. And then there's very minimal costs on other pieces, but I see this as a huge recreation opportunity for the area. There's not a large kind of hiking area, and so this would be 40-something acres of forest, right in the middle of the city, where folks could go to hike, to walk their dogs. I see huge benefit. I not only see the natural resource value of doing a project like this, but also the economic development value of it being a destination place to come in our region, as well as the environmental benefits around carbon reduction. So our timeline, if you all were to approve this project today, we would spend the next 3 months bringing on effectively investors, right? We would engage with the private sector. They would pre-purchase carbon offsets from us, and then they would pay some sort of down payment, and then we would use those funds to do the initial planting of trees. And then in 1 year, the site will have to be verified by a third party, a certified forester or a landscape ecologist, that will come in, say, hey, we planted the trees, they've taken, and then they would issue credits, and then we transfer those over to the private entity. So, we'd be looking from December to March, engaging the private sector, doing initial paperwork, and then as soon as the ground is no longer frozen, we would be able to start planting trees. And then a year from now, the full credits would be issued. And so that's our general timeline on a project like this. And so those are the high-level details. I want to spend most of our time together allowing you to ask me questions, and go back to any slides here.
You go back to slide 5, please. Thanks, Robert. On slide 5, wait, is it this one? It says the number 5 there, sorry. There you go. We had talked in the past about that 15-acre area possibly having baseball fields, correct? That was brought to the city council's attention about a month ago. We showed the 2 project options that we had talked about. One had the 4-plex here with the road going to it with a parking lot. And the other project idea had 2 baseball fields more to the east of that on the other side of the creek, which would not require that road. And I think there was a archery center kind of underneath the word Cottonwood right there. The scope and cost of that project was a little worrisome for the city council, especially with the road itself. I know that was something a few council members talked about, was the large cost of that road. So if this was something we were to look at, that would completely end our choice 1 concept. Is that something that's already been discussed, or is that this is the first I'm hearing about a second option for that area? So.
Yeah, so
interesting.
So I'm representing an outside org, so this is me bringing it forward, not as my EDA hat.
Okay.
So this isn't me representing the city anymore today.
Yeah, because that's the one thing, if we choose this option and we think this is a better option for parks, long-term, it does not allow for that facility space to be used for baseball fields. There is a trail plan around the multifamily housing. There's a goal to put a trail around that area in both plans. So there would be trail options being presented either way. What happens if there's a tornado in 5 years and it wipes out that entire area because they're not mature enough to withstand that, or not going to because it's a tornado? Are we out those costs because we've already collected, after a year, we've already collected the revenue generated? How does that work?
Yeah, I'll let my colleagues take on that question. I'll swap back so you can see them here.
One of the requirements of a climate forward under reforestation is that, you enter into the equivalent of a perpetual easement, and part of that requirement would be that should anything damage or eliminate the trees, they need to be replanted.
Okay.
Then would that be done by private funds again?
Let's say it again.
Would that be done by private?
So Hiawatha Valley would be the project developer on this, and so that would fall on us to do.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we would be responsible for maintaining all the guidelines as it relates to the application.
So once all this kind of grows up and everything, who's responsible for the care of it? Would the city be responsible for it?
Yep, so it would be city parkland, and you would manage it according to the plan that we put together as part of our Climate Forward application, and in partnership with the DNR forester.
My question is there a certain amount of acreage that's got to be used for this type of program or type of thing? I mean,
Yeah, so typically we would be looking at projects not less than 40 acres. So in this project, it's a little risky for us because it's close to breaking even, whereas we get to the 40-acre point, there's a little bit of excess, not really profit, from doing higher acreage. So we're thinking of this as our pilot site, and so all 20 acres would need to be into the program for us to effectively do the project.
is there a certain requirement for spacing of each tree or each area? I mean, where the trees go in, or is there a certain amount of numbers of trees? I mean, I know you got three species there, and I remember Robert said something about doing the cottonwoods down there by the creek area and stuff. But is there, like, between the oaks and whatever you're gonna put in, is there gonna be certain spacings for each of these trees?
I'm gonna pitch that to my technical experts.
I can answer that one too. Yes, there'd be spacing requirements. The density would have to follow a planting plan that was put together by a certified forester. And generally, if you're using seedlings, it would be 800 trees per acre. If they're larger planting stock, then it would be, potentially less, depending on the size of the planting stock. But there would be requirements for spacing.
Space.
It would be establishment of a fully stocked stand.
So you do these plantings. Of course, I'm a city forester in town too, so I've been there 33 years, so I've been taking care of trees here for a long time. So I look at it as that if you put seedlings, whatever in that stuff, I know there's certain distances. You put in a ball and burlap, the cost is going to be more expensive to put in the bigger type tree in that stuff. But my thing is that you plant so many trees in this area, and like Ryan was saying, say the trees die or they just don't make it, whose responsibility is it? Us, the city, to pull out the old trees and then replant new ones? Is that kind of what you're saying?
That would be up through the issuance of the credit. So if the trees fail after the first year, we have built-in costs to replant.
Okay.
Up until that year after, and then it falls onto the city as to follow the management plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so like say if you get a tree that's 10, 15 years old, and for some reason, you know, I hate to say this, EAB, but there could be a bug out there down the road that all of a sudden could infest something, you know? What happens on that scenario where we would have to then cut the trees down and then replace them? Is that what I'm understanding on this whole thing?
That's a good question. Paul, do you know in the technical documentation on pests?
Well, the requirement would be to maintain a fully stocked stand, and generally for, you know, big hardwood trees, I think, you know, you're looking at 150 to 200 mature trees per acre. If there's losses, you know, that take you below that, you know, then replanting would be required.
Be required.
Yeah. And an uneven age stand, you know, a long-lived, mixed, uneven age stand of native trees is the goal in terms of the carbon requirements, the sequestration requirements. So these are good questions that you're bringing up.
What is the oldest project you guys have currently started and going? What is that
This
looking like?
would be our first project. So this program was just released last year.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's right, you said 2021. Yep,
Yep.
sorry, my apologies. Okay.
Is there,
Two projects that have been done in the country. The first one was done in California by a real estate company that needed to acquire future credits. And the second one was 400-acre planting of bald cypress down in the Mississippi Delta.
Has this been shown to our city engineer?
I briefly talked with Brandon about
Okay,
it.
just 'cause I know we have a project around that area of town to do some flood mitigation, and would that interfere, help, deter, would that project tie in any way, would this project tie in any way with that project?
I think he's looking at the south side of 14 for those ponds.
Okay,
He said is more appropriate, but we did look at that 38 acres just immediately to the west of that site.
yeah,
And he thought that it wasn't
okay,
that appropriate, and the cost of
okay.
what the landowner wanted was a bit too much.
Is this the only site that you see feasible in Casson right now for a project such as this?
I'm doing some development with the county right now. They have 30-some acres next to the high school.
Yep.
But we're just in the beginning phases of those conversations, but that might be a fit for this program.
Would you have to, if I understand this right, you don't necessarily have to use it there if you go. So can you explain your carbon credits or whatever?
Yeah.
What's that all about?
So a carbon offset is a measurement of either a reduction in greenhouse gases or an avoidance of greenhouse gases. So for example, planting a array of solar panels would have a certain percentage of greenhouse gas reduction, and you'd be able to take what that increment is and say, you know, each metric ton of carbon is 1 credit. And this is that, you know, that would be greenhouse gas that is avoided. And so this is, you know, carbon that has been sequestered in trees, and it's a forecast of that.
We're a green step city.
Mm-hmm.
Would this be a kind of a goal for us, you know, or part of our step in continuing to get maybe to our step 3?
Yeah, not right now. I have been talking to the statewide directors from MTCA, but Green Step cities have pretty strict guidelines to get to each step, and right now this does not fall within their guidelines. Yeah. But I hope it will at some point.
I do too. I mean, we really need that step 3. That would be really nice.
so you're talking 40 acres of forest area, tree area, but there was 20 on that,
This is 20 acres, yep.
but you talked about 40. Where does that come in?
40 is where we would generate enough credits, that there's enough cushion. Right now, at 20 acres, this project would be fairly risky because it's breaking even in terms of what we can sell those credits for and what our costs would be.
This is a 20-acre project.
It's 20 acres of potential, yes.
Well, I think one of the big things is to think about what is our goal for that area as it adds to Lions Park. Just in hearing from the city, the biggest concern is cost and usage. The second thing they were concerned about with the baseball field and that 15 area location was usage. So that's something we have to think about. Do we have enough usage on our current fields? And if we add another field in our other ball fields, will that offset the need to have a complex there? So that was from gathering input from the council. The cost is a concern. Building a road to that area for sports, I know it's not the same project, but it ties in together. It's the same space.
Sure.
That's a big concern. The paving of a road and a bridge over Maston Creek to get to a parking facility to a four-ball complex was worrisome. Brandon mentioned some other options to the east of this area. Between there and the actual Lions Park is maybe another option for an additional field. I know we had the twoplex idea for over there, but there was an additional spot where he thought we could add another field over there with some acquiring of land possibly, or building space. It's hard to show you on this map because it's not the map we have. I'd have to go back to our notes from previous meetings. So we just have to decide what's our plan for this area. We don't have anything like this in town, and if it brings back that revenue generated, it's a wash after a year, correct? We spend money now, we get that money back a year later, minus the...
You wouldn't be spending any money.
Okay.
We would pre-sell our
Yep.
carbon offsets, and we'd use the down payment from the private
to pay.
sector to pay for all of it.
So we have minimal costs up front
Right.
versus more of a long-term maintenance, which is staff, purchasing of additional trees as they go down, making sure the paths are cleared. So it's something different. I've never seen something like this. It's kind of neat. But it's what's our purpose for that area? What do we want it to be? What do we want those multifamily housing units to see when they look out their window? Do we think they'd like to see a cool forest, or do we think they'd like to see a sports facility?
Well, they see both, because
Or-
there's Lions Park right over.
Yeah, so it's, just in listening to the current council's change, cost is a concern. So I think if you'd want to definitely bring this project to Brandon and the council, but I think we'd have to talk about it too, to say, is this something we want to even send to them too?
Well, look at it, there's two ways. I mean, we're always struggling to find out how to expand our parks, make our parks better, offer different amenities. And with our, in the last 4 or 5 months, as we've talked about, what can we do with the Lions Park and the extra acreage and the proposed housing development that, I think we just talked, was it 2 months ago we talked about, was something new to us. So here's a great opportunity to expand this Lions Park into, whether it's ballparks, soccer fields, archery area, as we talked.
Mhm.
So, and obviously that does come to an expense, in long term to try to put all that in. Nobody's, at this point, come and granted us, $10 million, so here, go build this. I don't foresee it in the near future, but, it's a cost to taxpayers, but also it's a benefit to the community for the park side. Now, with this forest option, it kind of throws another twist into it. And, when cost becomes some of the things that we're talking about, it's almost a costless project. It kind of makes us, I can envision just some of the pictures I've seen, we've all walked through forests. You got the birds, you got probably the ripple of Maston Creek if it's not flooding, I'm gonna say, so maybe it's just a ripple. The quaint and quietness, but yet it's next to a highway. So it's not probably gonna be as quiet as you think, but anytime you walk through a canopy of trees,
Sound from the outside.
yep, the sows muzzled, the birds are there, so it's interesting, as you guys propose this, I can see that, but is that in a big enough area to where we're gonna draw, residents of Casson there, to walk, to hike, to, kids play, climb trees, or whatever they're gonna do, I guess, but, I can see where it's a great option to put something in a place that's gonna benefit a housing development, I don't wanna say it wrong, but fill some space, so the trees will fill some of the space versus the land that's there, or what the park board or the city would have to do to try to develop a park, which is gonna be long-term, which is gonna be expensive.
See that recreational value for...
Right. Now, if you would've brought this to us a year ago, and we wouldn't even thought about a ball field complex on this different acreage, I think we'd be viewing this a little differently. At least I would. It'd be, because right now my mind's going in two different directions, and it keeps flipping. It costs the city to put a big complex in and make the south side of the Casson Lions Park, our second biggest park, or the first biggest park compared to what we have. But the cost to us and the patrons of the city is obviously not cheap, and it won't get any cheaper. Which delays that project for, I think, well, I can't say delays the project, but would delay the full fulfillment of a project like that for the ballpark, a complex, all the stuff that, before you guys came in and proposed this. So, to me, it's an interesting thought, knowing that you guys only have two other ones. We're, like, number 3. It's not like there's, 18 of these in the state of Minnesota and 4 in the state of Iowa, and the newness of it doesn't really have too much of concern because it's Mother Nature doing the growing. I guess you guys have to be aware of how wet that area is to make this work. That's going to be the biggest challenge on your guys' side.
We've already looked at the soil profile.
So,
Which area is flood. Paul, do you have anything to say about that? You looked at the soil maps.
Yeah, the soils in the river, the riparian zone, the uncropped areas, and the eastern part of that southern field are pretty wet. They not only flood, but they're pretty saturated. So that's where the cottonwood come in, and just going by what the soil surveys are, it's, you can make your best guess at it right now. And the upland areas, the drier areas, should support oak and hickory. And hopefully the cottonwoods will grow in the wet area. So I'm up in Duluth, and I'm pretty familiar with landscape up here. And as Robert said, the forester has looked at it and given him advice on the species that would, do the best there. So at this time, planting trees is always a risky endeavor, but once they are established, then they kind of take care of themselves, as long as there's not bad weather or disease problems.
So some of the, is there a specific species of the cottonwood? I'm just looking, some of them grow up to 100 feet tall. Looks like they average about, 6 feet per year. Or would these be the ones that produce the cotton that blows off when the wind blows?
Yep.
I know that if it's the best tree for that location based on the soil and the moisture, you don't want to plant something that's not going to succeed there. But I also think about in 20 years, are we going to have a future council or park board having to deal with people coming in saying, oh, this is all blowing in my yard, and we planted these, and not that it's not a reason to do a project, but long-term, that's one thing I think about. But one of my big thoughts is, if we can still fit a smaller complex to the east and provide something that the town does not have. We don't have something like this in town. Just in looking at our current numbers for our baseball teams, our youth teams, all the way T-ball through U14, just if you have a 15-player team, we have 20 teams. 15 to 20 teams. And then you've got T-ball, which uses the turf. That's using Denison, the Manorville field, I assume. We're no longer using the West Park field, correct, for that?
They use that for 8th grade softball.
8th grade softball. So we do have a need for more fields, I would say, based on the numbers. But where can we place those other fields? Can we put it in northeast Casson by our current field out by the school? Not too far from there. Could that facilitate 1 or 2 more fields as a complex? If we can put 2 to 3 fields behind the playground facility at Lions Park, would that help offset that? If we put a ball field here in the 15 acres, you can't put a 15, 20 acre forest next to Lions Park. It would have to go in an area that's not used as readily between Manorville and Casson out by the school. And who's to say that the school's not gonna try to buy that in 10 years and try to build another school there? So, I kinda like the idea, just in the terms of, we could probably still fit 2 baseball fields in. It's more economically friendly to put the 2 by the park that's currently there. We're gonna pave that parking lot this next year, so that'll be paved and ready to go. So we'll have parking, we'll have we'll have pickleball, we'll have basketball, we have the park there. If we add 2 baseball fields there, smaller size ones, I believe was the number versus the 2 larger and smaller on the other plan, I think your council now and probably in the next 4 years would also back that more than spending how much it would cost just to build a road to those other fields. I think it comes down to cost more than anything when it comes back to council, from what I heard last time, and numbers. But our numbers, I think, do say we need more fields, and that's what our baseball association mentioned in their email was, we could use more fields. They have the numbers to support that. Town's gonna get bigger, so it's just, we don't have this anywhere else. This is something that we don't have. If we put it there, we still have option B. If we try to keep putting the baseball field there, this doesn't go near that park. We can still try to get both a forest park and the baseball fields there if we move the baseball fields. Put the baseball fields there, you can't put a forest park in that area. So what do we want that to look like? Maybe that's a conversation with the Lions Park. Maybe that's a conversation with Tim to talk to the Vale family, because they sold that property with certain ideas in mind, not saying they had specific goals, but they had some thoughts in mind of those areas. And so if their goal was to have, if there was a goal to have a certain facility there, we kind of want to honor that, because we did as a city get a very good price on that land to develop that area, not just for the multifamily housing units, which we need. So knowing that she wants that area to be something might be important to think about.
So I did handle the closing on this property.
Yeah.
And, like, there was no discussion around what they specifically wanted to see as part of.
Yeah.
They just purchased naming rights.
Yep.
Is what
Named
the
that,
reduction
that's
in
what it
cost.
was, yep.
Naming rights for park or trail system is what
Okay.
they said.
All right. That is better said than what I said, yes. Okay.
I like the idea, as Ryan said, we can still manipulate and pencil in ball fields in different places. We've been doing that for years, Ronnie. And we succeeded in putting some ball fields in places that, have been successful, so, I can see the forest going in and the council saying, good, now we've got some money savings to where we're not gonna commit to a complex of ball fields and things, because at this point, the council hasn't said, yes, let's put in a 4-field complex and archery area and roads and a bridge over the creek, and how do you get there? I mean, that's, the dollars just add up, and I can see what you're saying, that the council's not taking easy to, I mean, we have to generate ideas, and this is kind of what we do. You know, here's the far outreach, which we've done, of ideas, and then we got to work from there, obviously, and then we got to work within a budget. I like the idea of what you guys are proposing, and I think it's a good option for us to sit back and say, what can we do, what can we make fit, what's feasible for the community, something different, you know, that no community around us has at this point, that we know of, unless Rochester has a bunch of forest area that they just put trails through. That, I'm not a trail walker or biker, but,
Not that I know of, but...
you know,
Not yet.
or a place where, without going to northern Minnesota, where you got your 4-wheeler and you're zipping through green pines, but in let's say southeast Minnesota, would be something very unique to have. So, you know, I see it working. I can see where we sit back, we figure out where other ball fields could fit our needs, that we can make work. Like I said, we've got some fields now that probably could, if we do it right or buy some land correctly. Obviously, we can't stop looking. So I like what you guys are proposing. I envision, unfortunately, you know, 25 years from now, I probably won't be the guy walking through that park or the forest of trees, but I'd like to think I was the guy sitting on a bench. And I think you're right, a cottonwood's a very dirty tree. I got 2 in my neighbor's yard that's in my backyard, and when the cottonwood flies, everything's white. So how many, if I ask you this, acreage-wise, how many acres of this property would be cottonwood?
It'd be along that riparian zone, which
So
is
that
roughly
5 acres?
5 acres of potential, and maybe a little bit on that eastern side where it gets very wet.
Okay, and the proposed housing development is on the north side of that?
Yes, it's on the other side of the...
So they would be catching all the cotton?
On the kind of eastern edge of the developable part,
Okay.
but the development that's going in is that it's close to the road right now, so
Okay.
we don't actually know what's going to be proposed as we look at the other 4 lots there.
And do you know how many mature cottonwood trees fit on 5 acres of land?
Any idea?
Paul, any idea?
A lot.
And then the question again, was there any other type of tree besides the cottonwood that could be an option in that wet
A willow.
area?
Willows would fit there.
Willows are even a dirtier tree, I think. And I don't think conducive to a walk-through park or a path park, because I can see a bunch of kids getting in there and taking them willow snaps and chasing down their siblings or something. I don't want to get involved with that, but
remember, you're also not only thinking about the recreational value, though, but the ecological value of this large tract of forest in your city as well. So we want to get as native as possible.
but we don't want to make it willow wood. You know, I hate to have somebody walk through, it's like it's all willows or it's all cottonwood, and, you know, there's a point of being native to the area, and there's a point of being conducive to look, environment, feel. You know, do we have to have 100% native? I don't know, and maybe that's part of this project. If we were 50% native and the other 50% a feasible species of tree that would give you more beauty, more canopy, more shade. You get some trees that get a higher canopy, more shade that you can walk under, versus a willow tree, you can't walk under a willow tree. Cottonwood trees, I can't say they're the best shade tree, but they're a messy tree. You know, so I think you have to look at this, you know, the type of tree you put in here, because if you put 20 acres of trees and you're like, I wish 15 of them weren't there after 25 or 40 years, you can't take it back. So, I guess that'd be I'd like to see another option of multitude of species of trees that could blend in with something like this, is my option, but, you know, I guess I like the idea of, very low cost to the city, and using this to help beautify, and, I think it would help to aid in the, feel of the park, knowing that there's a forest right next door, or something fun that kids can go walk in or walk a path down, or tied into a park system, so it goes both ways for me, I guess. Definitely
Chris,
not saying no.
Any thoughts on alternative species for the riparian zone there?
Landscape ecologist, Chris, can you weigh in?
We're calling on the PhD.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, cottonwood is the best fit for a riparian zone, unfortunately.
Is there a type of cottonwood that doesn't produce this, do they all produce the same levels of the seed, the cotton, or do some produce more or less?
Well, I don't know.
They produce pretty much all of it.
Because I'm not a tree expert in any way, I'm just reading on the internet, of course, and it says they're part of the willow family, so either way, you plant a willow or a cottonwood, you're planting a willow tree, really. But I don't think you're not designing a project like this and your biggest worry shouldn't be about what comes from it, like cotton blowing in someone's yard. We really, the goal of it is to reduce our carbon footprint in our community. That's really the goal of it. And so on that aspect, to me, it doesn't matter the tree, if it's the tree that's gonna live the longest there, it's going to provide what we want it to do, it's the best option. But it comes down to what do we want that 15 acres to be? And I know, Ronnie, that's maybe when you think about that area and as you think long-term, what have you've envisioned a complex in this town for a long time?
For over 30 years.
Yeah, and it seems like every couple of years, once that vision starts to get on paper, something takes the space of the area you want to put that.
Or it gets shut down
Or it
because
gets
of money.
And so that problem is not going to go away. Until we find a revenue stream to support the park system here, this will be a problem 10, 20, 30 years from now. So even if we want to put a 4-baseball complex here, is there money now? Will there be money in 5 years? We don't know that, but right now, probably not. It's not in the budget for 2022. It's not in the idea of a budget for 2023 unless it gets pushed forward more. The goal is to put money towards that park, paving it right now. That's the first step. Council thought the first thing we need to do with that park to get moving, to get towards Plan A or Plan B was to pave the parking lot. We knew we needed to do that. So, I think it would behoove us to show this, not make a decision today. I know you probably want some type of a decision today, but I think you have to show your council and say, this is another option. What do you think about it? I don't know if I can't make a decision right now, just because I know Ronnie, what you would like to envision here, and I've lived here long enough where I would want to see that too, but I also know we don't have a forest like this. I don't care if it's 100 acres or 40, we don't have something like this you can walk to. You can walk from Lions Park in 20 years, go play on the playground, and then go for a walk in the forest. Kinda neat. Can't do that anywhere else in town, can you? So...
And the site that we're developing will potentially have hundreds of rental units on it, so
it's
captive audience available.
I think it would be good to show this to council as another option, because maybe it would even help us with our chances to get that Project B funded. Because then you're really saying, well, Project B is the big project we have, maybe we can shift some things around in Project B to still fit in a 3-plex baseball field. We know 4 is the goal, but could 3 be enough? where could we fit in three, could Brandon look as our city engineer and say, where could that third field go? What size is it? So, I don't think it would be bad to show them. I'm leaning towards the forest, but I also don't want to take Ronnie's plan away for that Plan A at this moment, because I'd like to see that too, so.
Well, I'll see, and I would like to, our envision for a fourplex has always been, well, you just take North Park, I think we were close at one point of getting a couple more ball fields there where the football field is. But we ran into an issue with the property owners to the east, really liked their large backyards, which shut down an opportunity to put another ball field up there. Not saying that, in 10 years, maybe they can be more apt to sell part of their backyards and not be so deep to still use that North Park as a 3 or 4 park complex. I mean, I don't want to eliminate that as an opportunity or a possibility, because I think it still could be there. Or you get to the north of North Park. Didn't Joel Bigelow at one point, was it Joel, who Laughlin or Bigelow owns that land north of Bigelow? He was talking about an amateur baseball stadium being put just north of the ball fields there. So, not saying that that's not land that he might not down the park say, let's put that 4-piece complex there. I mean, I don't want to think that this is the only place for it to go that we talked about here a couple months ago, so. But I think you're right, it goes back to dollars from the council, dollars of the cost to put in roads, ball fields, maintenance of ball fields, knowing that the area is very wet. I mean, there's lots of things that we still would be struggling on to, you just can't flip a dime and say there it is and voila, so.
So what I'm hearing is you want to do some more due diligence before making some decision. So what next steps do we need to take, knowing that you have the benefit of me also being a staff person for the city?
I think you'd want to come to one of the January meetings.
Okay.
And present this.
Do you want me to work with Brandon prior to that meeting?
I would talk with Brandon.
Okay.
I'd have him look at our 2 projects that we've presented for Lions Park.
Okay.
To see if we can still fit in at least 3 baseball fields in Project 2. Because I don't think 2's enough. You won't draw a tournament in with 2. The goal is to draw in tournaments which bring in revenue for our businesses in town. So I don't want to take that opportunity away, because what's the point of building 2 when 2's not enough for a tournament to be held? But I think you have to approach the council in January with that idea.
Okay.
But have a plan in place to still have a usable tournament-sized fields.
Do you want to go to council, but is the park board going to make some sort of recommendation prior to a conversation with council for them to make a decision, or where are we going with that?
I'd like just to go out and take a walk around and try and get a full visual of this whole thing.
I think it's hard to make a recommendation because this is just the first proposal.
Mm-hmm.
This is just all new to us. I like the idea of the very little cost to the city and be able to do something with this area. And
Is there a council rep here? Somebody on council? Oh, your council.
Yeah. That's why I say bring it to them, just because it's money related. When you look at the projects that we already have talked about versus this project, everything comes back to how much does it cost. I think that's what the current council looks at more than anything, as we have other projects coming up with in the next year. That's always the forefront of the discussions we have. So, I think for us, on Park Board would be, where could we find revenue to pay for option A of our facility? If we could find ways to increase revenue to build option A that we saw at one of our previous meetings for our fourplex field, our archery area, if we found a way to help source the funds for that, that would help option A more.
the biggest thing. You gotta do some fundraising.
Are there things cities our size do when you build a home or you build a complex where they take a portion of the cost of...
Parkland dedication fees.
Yep, thank
Yes,
you.
We do get those.
And I don't know, not that I'm going against my own project, but you could also look at DNR outdoor recreation grants as opportunities for that as well.
So, that's something we would need to start looking at if we want to continue with option A, I think. Just to be honest, that's kind of the feeling I got from council was option A's road scared them quite a bit. I don't know if you watched that meeting or not, or if anyone's gotten back to you, but that was the biggest concern from council was...
Has anybody from the council ever went over to Byron and found out how they did their four-field complex?
I don't know.
That should be a good source right there to find some information
Talk to
out.
Byron and ask
Because
how
I do
they-
know, I know a little bit about that, and the land was bought by the city of Byron 5 or 6 years before the project even got going. They purchased it from a farmer for $100 and some thousand. And we got the land here already, and it's already been purchased by the city. So we got the land here, but Byron, they come up and they had some different ideas of how they wanted to put that four-field complex in, and I met with the mayor, Darrell Glassmaker, and Tom Rickey, the Public Works Director, and it took them a period of so many years to be able to come up, number one, with the plan and how they're going to fund it. And it went back to the taxpayers, and the taxpayer funded some of that field. So what's going to end up, if that, something like this ever does happen in Cass, and that's what's going to have to do, some of it's going to have to be funded on a bond. Second, whatever, Parkland fees. Parkland fees here have got to be totally restructured in this community. It has been terrible, absolutely terrible. This is my personal opinion. $50 for years we went for a lot. That's all we got for Parkland fees. Developers would come in here and develop areas here and get a good bang for their buck. Well, our other park board member, Chris Petrie, works for the city of Rochester as an engineer. Now, he don't work for the city, he's an engineer, but he was a park and rec director in Lakeville, and he told us here a few months back that there was times where people would come in and develop, they'd get $3,000 for a lot in certain areas. That is a way to generate fund into the park system. Some way or somehow, you got to do that. You got to restructure your parkland fee. But I look at it as this. In the future, now I'm just talking in the future, for 20 to 25 years down the road, this city is going to grow. Now, how fast, how many, we don't know. It could go fast, or it could go on a slow, or it could go medium, depending on what all happens here. But I know that that school system's not going to get smaller. People want to move here, they want to develop land here, outskirts, and that school system's going to grow, because they have a great school system here. And what that does, that puts added pressure onto the city to have facilities in the city. And I look at it as that, I'm looking not next 5, 10 years, I'm looking at in the next 20, 25 years. We could be in 25, over 10,000 people. You know, and the facilities that we have right now, that ain't gonna be enough at all. What are we gonna do with land? Where do we gotta buy it? Who are we gonna, whatever. So I look at it as that, do I believe trees are important? For gosh sake, yes. I've been dealing with trees for a lot of years here in the city, and I don't wanna cut any of them down, I wanna plant them. We're Tree City USA. We plant trees. Since I've been here, we planted over 2,000 trees, 3,000 trees, somewhere around that, on boulevards. But I also gotta look at what does the community what's the community gonna have to have in the future. And, you know, I'm not saying that this 15 acres is the God's gift of what we need to have, but we have to have, as a city, as a park board and a council, to understand that in 20 years down the road, we're gonna have to either buy some land, again, which is gonna cost, to have a facility put in. If we go with this program here, which I'm not against, but if we do, the city's gotta come up with a concept plan to say, hey, we gotta find an area where we're gonna develop or have some other park put in, because these two parks on Concept B, I will tell you this right now, I understand that concept, but it's complete flood zone. When that rains 4 inches, that whole area is gonna get flooded. So what's gonna happen to our fences? What's gonna happen to the infield turf? What's gonna happen to all that stuff? It's gonna be totally have to be renovated every time it floods. Up here, it ain't gonna flood on that 15 acres. Down by the creek, it will, but it won't. So, I mean, there's things that you gotta look at. If you go back and look at all the floods, that flood was right next to, behind our playground module that sets right now. So, are we gonna get a 4-inch, 5-inch? We don't know. But, I do know if you put in fields, and you put that money in, and you spend that money for the fencing, it's almost like the tree repair, which you guys were talking about, is some tree in this program, the city's gonna have to get that tree down, we're gonna have to refund it and re-put it back in, which is it's gonna cost. But that'll happen too to them ball fields. And that's what I'm just trying to say, is that I love the idea of planting trees and having everything for trees in this city. I love trees. But we have to make sure that we have another plan in place for something for the future of the growth of the athletic or the recreational park. My other question to you, Robert, and Chris, and whatever. Paul, yeah. If we put them trees in there, can we add 9 more holes of Frisbee golf around the trees and have a Frisbee golf course?
I'm gonna let Paul actually answer it, but from my perspective, as long as we meet the density requirements on the trees, right, you can still have some recreational
Right.
activity in there.
Yeah.
What the visibility would look like for Frisbee golf, I don't know.
That's one thing. I know over in Todd Park in Austin, they have it in hills and trees and all over. I mean, they make it very hard to play Frisbee golf, but they like that. People like it. But if you're going to only have a tree, that's why I ask how close the trees are going to have to be planted, because is there a certain... Then my next question would be, out of these 15 acres, just on the top, I'm not worried about the creek, out of these 15 acres, you know, how many trees do you honestly think that are going to go in that 15 acres? Are they going to be lined up? Are they going to be staggered? Are they going to be... is there any concept? If we could see a concept of what it looks like, that would also help too, you know, of what it looks like and what the species, and if you got us a map that would fit in here on a Google map and just show basically where the trees are, what it's going to look like, that also helps us too, you know, to try to figure out where we could put a bike path, like Ryan was saying, or can we get one fit in there, or even have another green space where, you know, you can plant prairie grass. That's always been another thing, or have community gardens planted. You know, people have wanted that too, you know, around this community. But I'm just saying is just that tonight I think I agree with Ryan, and I agree kind of with Greg. If you guys could come back, and I know you guys are out of time frame, but if you could come back with maybe a little more info and maybe a little more drawing, and then have appear in front of the council and see what their thoughts are, then we maybe could go from there, you know? I mean, that's what I would say. And of course, my word, I only got 10 months left. I've been here for a long time as Park and Rec Director, but, you know, it's always been my goal, and I will say this, and I know Greg can testify, he's been here 20 years on the Park Board. Our goal was always to get something on a complex where it would benefit the community for years and years to come, as far as a facility. And am I saying would this be the best area for the facility? I can't say, but I sure wish the council would understand that if we don't do the facility here, we hopefully have another option somewhere else. That's all I'm saying.
And that's where I am hesitant, because I know your ultimate goal, and part of me wants to honor the years that you've spent here and honor that that's your plan. That's something you want your legacy to be as you leave. You mentioned, Robert, the land by the school. Would the purchase of that land, where would that be? How much property is that, you said?
The county-owned land?
Yeah, how big of a forest area are you building there if you bought that?
We wouldn't buy that land.
Okay, well, how,
It would remain under county.
okay, so
Yeah,
sorry,
in the
never mind.
same way
Okay.
that we're proposing this project, yep.
Okay, okay, so that would be, it'd be a zero-cost project there, too.
But
And if it works out, I haven't
Yeah.
done the
Well, I'm
appropriate
just,
assessment.
what I'm
yet,
trying to
but-
get at is if it's still in the community, it's close to the school, it's still usable, so we still have something for us, then we still have the property we currently own to use.
how many
for our
acres
park.
was that? 'Cause that was smaller than this, wasn't it?
It's like 33 acres.
33 over there, so it's
but-
more.
But that's not all of that, some of that has trees on it, right? And
Yeah.
so to be eligible, it has to be less than 10% canopy cover for us to use this program,
Yeah.
which we haven't done that analysis on.
Okay.
I've just had some...
That's just a possible area, okay.
Right, they want to do like a nature education space, and it might be a fit for this.
Okay. Just because of time, we have a lot still to do. I would say, take this to council. I like Ronnie's idea, if you could overlay a map of
Mm-hmm.
where the trees would be, like, actually, like, not number-wise, but just
Mm.
An
More of a-
idea.
a better designed picture for us.
I'm not sure how realistic those plans would be, right? So we're not going to put time into the planning, right? And
Yeah.
if you don't move forward, because that's a cost to us to do.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right?
So you kind of, yeah.
Could you give us, though, some type of, Robert, some estimate how many trees would fit in there, though? Could you guys figure that out?
Yeah,
Space-wise
yeah.
and stuff?
There is a estimate per number of trees per acre that Paul said earlier. What was that number that you said, Paul?
So, when you're establishing, trees, there'd be, say 800 per acre of a tiny seedling put in. And, we know that over time, they're not all gonna survive, but enough of them will, so that when they start to mature, you've got a fully stocked stand, which would end up 150 to 200 trees per acre. And,
Okay, so we could be looking...
So obviously,
Over 2,000 to 3,000 trees at maturity,
Yep.
roughly.
well, obviously, it's Mother Nature will determine the footprint of where the trees are, not lined up in lines, because it's what dies, what survives, what overtakes, what falls, what doesn't, so.
Okay.
right.
We might start off with a row planting, but...
Right, but then eventually it would, okay.
Okay, and that totally makes sense, too, so.
If you had 100% survival of those 800 trees per acre, you'd need to do some thinnings to give them room.
Yes, you would.
Just a bit.
And then we would need a forestry division. Thank you, Paul. I've been pushing that for 15 years, of us having our own forestry division, so.
So is it fair, Robert, to have, is it within your budget to meet with council to just give them the same information?
Oh, yeah, I'd be happy to
For the most part
come.
that you've given us with,
Mhm.
if you had any more detail for us, have it for them as well.
Sure.
They don't meet until the second week in January, and the fourth week in January on Wednesdays. So that would, I think that would kinda help get their eyes, and I'll be there as well to share some things we've talked about. I wanna make sure that we honor the fact that the Project A is something we do like for the park board, but we also are interested in this as well. We just wanna make sure what's best long-term. So I think it's
Happy to do
important to
that.
go to council with that and hear what they have to say, and then I can bring that back. Tim can bring that back as well.
Yep.
And then, if it's in the budget, to have you come back, and then we make that decision. And-
Yep. Well, I'm happy to come in person, because I'm here working anyways.
Yeah.
but,
Sure.
Perfect.
It's just, if I'm gonna have someone drop maps or renderings, that becomes
Yep.
a cost,
So let me ask you, so as you guys sell this, to private parties, how does that work on the private side? Not that it's, because obviously the city's not investing. So is this something that you sell to who? Residents of Casson? Do you have your own little group of?
Well, we're
Investors already out there?
we're developing that network, but I mean, Minnesota, we're home to the highest density of Fortune 500s in the Midwest, and all of them have set neutrality goals, some 2040, some 2050, and so as part of their net neutrality goals, they're going to have to purchase some offsets, because there's only so much innovation that you can do and reduce your emissions.
So in
So
this
all of
case-
them are purchasing offsets in some capacity.
So in this case, it could be, say, 3M, for example, says that we've got X number of dollars, that's one of the investors, just It's not like you're going out to send out a mail to individual doors and saying, would you like to donate to
No.
a program?
No,
And that's kind of where I was wondering where the funding comes from.
right,
You know, it's a private sector, but it's a private business sector,
right.
or
So we'd be looking at large corporations.
large corp.
Real estate developers as well are developing, carbon.
And in this case, they have to invest into something, and this is part of their, let's just say, write-offs, and to meet their needs of what their
To
business
meet their
has
carbon
to.
neutral goals, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of tells us where some of the money comes from, too, at that point, so.
Yeah.
Not naming people, but you have the idea, the basis of the funds behind it, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
Great.
Any other questions?
Oh, I forgot to pass.
Sounds good.
Forgot to pass those around.
Paul, Chris, thank you for your
Yes,
time.
thank you so much.
Did you get copies of this?
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ronnie, did you get a copy of this?
I was gonna keep
Because
taking
Janet and,
Brian's, but he kept
Oh,
flipping his
sorry.
papers, so that's all right. I get one eventually.
Thank you, Robert.
Yep, thank you so
all.
much.
Thank you. I didn't,
Sorry we couldn't give you an answer, but it's...
no, there's lots of great conversation. I'm sorry for taking up over an hour.
Oh, you're
Oh,
fine.
no, that's-
I don't want to have to parent tonight, you're fine.
Vikings didn't play tonight, so if you did, I'd have you keep talking.
you're shutting
Okay,
this down.
what, we're gonna do is we'll go, to request for picnic tables, David Drips. I don't think there's been any information here given to you guys on this, but, I think Mr. Drips did he approach the council
No, it was at one of those meetings about the roundabouts or something.
about the
where he-
roundabouts? He brought up the situation as far as the food trucks that are set up down
The old shop.
at the old shop go. And he would like to see some picnic tables down there for the food trucks when they come and they serve, so people don't have to stand. And he thought that we could get some tables from the park department to go down and sit down there on the blacktop.
Take our existing ones, is that what you're saying, and run a couple down there?
Yeah, and that's what he kinda thought, to kinda help them, help them out. My biggest concern is, number one, is that the kids, if they're set down there when the trucks aren't there, you know what they're gonna end up doing.
Yep, skateboards and,
In the creek?
In the creek.
Skateboards are gonna end up in the creek, or someone's gonna steal it. Not to be negative here,
Right.
but that's basically what would probably happen. So the only thing that could actually be done is chain it to one of the light poles or something,
We want to take our city-owned benches or picnic tables and put them in the parking lot?
Yeah.
See,
Can we, my
Well-
concern with that is coming back to,
yeah,
we don't allow
right.
food vendors in certain parts of our town because we don't want our businesses to lose out on revenue and plug into certain areas and get free electricity or get something for free. Taking taxpayer-funded benches or picnic tables and putting them on non-city property may be a bad precedence, or we might ruffle some feathers, even though it's a great idea. Maybe reach out to those businesses that own that property and say, could you do that first? And if they say no, then I think we come back to it, because I don't think it'd be appropriate to provide them with a picnic table, and then if a business comes to us and say, hey, we'd like a picnic table in front of our business too, how can we say no to a business in town that's
Right.
there, when we gave a business that drives up for 4 hours the same opportunity?
I think it's, Ryan, you're really close hitting it on the head, and I think this will make it easy. For those food trucks that are coming, it's their own revenue,
Right.
their own profits. They make portable, fold-up picnic tables.
Mhm.
We do.
They could buy them from some
They
businesses in town.
can purchase their own table, set their food stand, get out their own picnic tables, and that would suffice everything. I totally agree that the city does not become
Well, and,
the entity that will provide a picnic table for another business that floats through the community.
well, like
at
they're
whose
putting in a
expense?
coffee shop there now too,
So-
To me, I'm like you, if they're gonna provide something, they should have their own.
Well, the coffee shop is gonna have to put tables outside
Right,
their
that's what I
facility,
mean, so there will be
Yeah,
some there eventually.
I would say absolutely not on the city providing any type of picnic or eating.
We should probably have a recommendation. Should we have something like that?
I don't
put
even
into
think
the
we even have
council
to
or
recommend
not?
anything.
No.
Just say,
It's,
Discussed and...
discussed and as...
that would be left up to the food vendor to provide their own seating.
So if Mr.
their
Drix
patrons.
gets a hold of me, or gets a hold of
Mhm.
City Hall, that's what we're gonna tell them.
Yep.
Mhm.
And we're trying to follow best practices of what we've done in the
Yeah.
past with
Right.
making sure that we don't have food trucks in areas that compete with our local businesses that pay a different level of tax to the
Mhm.
community. So we're trying to honor their needs and what they're giving and providing us, yet still wanting food trucks. We just want to make sure that it's
Mhm.
equitable and fair.
Yeah, the food truck has to provide their own
Seating.
seating arrangements, because we don't want to be putting city benches on private
We wouldn't
property.
give El Patrons a bunch of picnic tables. Why would we give
Yeah.
a food truck?
Right.
Right,
Okay,
so,
sounds good.
Seems fair.
Any other discussion on that? Okay. Tree City USA, just wanted to let you know that, I will be filling that application in. Jan has got me a lot of the information. Now I gotta get back online and figure out the computer program again, but, that's all due here at the end of the month, December 31st. We are going for our 42nd consecutive year as being Tree City USA. I will start that, probably at the end of this week, and then work into it next week, and then, hopefully be done before I start doing all my, interviews for the aquatic center. So, just wanted to mention that, I'm working on that, and I'll get that sent in here before the 31st. Okay? If there's no other questions on that part, we'll go right to the 2022 Cash and Aquatic Center proposals. If everybody's got that, I know Jan went and, sent it out. I will tell you, I spent an awful lot of time on this, and I mean a lot of time.
I've never seen you lay it out like this.
And, it consumed me, because I knew that somewhere, somehow, we had to do something different. And, I went and I talked to a lot of other area pools.
Did the button ever get pushed on that thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on.
Oh, thank goodness. Thank you.
I talked to a lot of the other area pools and took some information from them, did this, did that, what worked for them. I knew what worked for us. I talked to Abby Chosis, that's gonna be our manager, this coming season, and got her input. So I sat down and I kinda put it all together. And as you can see on this page right here, quick like here, in the red, our pool hours Monday through Friday. There has been some changes, not a lot of changes, but there has been some changes. Number one, our lap swim is still gonna be as normal. Our swim team is gonna be as normal. Our Red Cross swim lessons is gonna be as normal, but we did add one extra session to go to 5 on the advice of Abby. Our parent Todd hour swim, we went the same, pretty much, till noon. The key is that after the open swim, after the Todd hour swim, we will not open our open swim, our pool, till 12:30. Get everybody all settled in, done from swim lessons, done from the parent Todd hour, so then we can do our open swim for the public at 12:30, and we'll close at 5 o'clock. This is where the changes come. I will say probably at least close to 90% of the pools that I talk to have an hour break. They don't keep the pool continuously open. They go for a supper break somewhere in there. So we'll go 4.5 hours of open swim. We'll have a break at 5 to 6. We'll open back up 6 to 8 o'clock, and we'll have swim lessons also on that same evening. So parents can be able to, who work, that don't have an opportunity to see their children have swim lessons, can have their kids registered at evening sessions. Once again, just to let you know, I bet you probably 60 to 70% of the pools have lessons at night too, so people can come and see their children swim. Then at 8 o'clock, our pool closes after the lessons. There'll be no open swim to the public on Monday through Friday. Now, yep, just, yeah. Now, that is when we have swim lessons. Weeks, okay? So non-swim open weeks, number one. We will open the pool, everything is the same, but we'll open the pool to open swim on Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday evenings. So that means they'll be open from 6 to 8 o'clock for open swim. Okay. The big thing there, we will not have concessions open on that evening. No concessions will be open from 6 to 8 o'clock. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we added the parent tot hour plus the adult lap swim hours, which is really going to be nice, where people that can't get there in the morning to do adult lap swim will be able to swim in the evening on 2 nights a week. And then we can get the parent tots that have the little children come in and use our play features. You don't have big kids running around doing this 2 nights a week. Abby thought it was a fantastic idea, where not only all age groups, lap swim, we can get everybody that would want to come in and do lap swim after they work a hard day of work or whatever. So that's where we're going to do it. That would be non-lesson weeks. That's Monday through Friday. And our pool, again, will close at 8 p.m. Okay? So just to let everybody know, from 12:30 to 5 o'clock, our concessions will be open Monday through Friday during the afternoon. In the evenings, they will not be open. Okay? Weekend pool hours, Saturday, Sunday. Pool close. In the future, I left it this way for the first year, because everything is kind of new. Not saying that there could be some type of lap swim or some type of other program that could happen in the weekends in the future, if something like that wanted to happen down the road for, say, the park board says, I've gotten requests, we need to do something in the mornings on Saturdays and Sundays. That can happen down the road. But for right now, we're not going to open the pool until pool rentals from 10 to 12 o'clock. We eliminated the 3-hour pool rental. I went to 2-hour pool rental. Most pools have 2-hour rentals or an hour rental. If you go down to the pool rates, down there to the bottom right, you'll see the pool rentals. It's going to cost $225 up to 25 swimmers. When they come and they register, they will have to let us know how many swimmers are in their group. If there's 26 swimmers, then there's an additional $3 charge per extra swimmer. Figuring out all this detail of how many lifeguards we got to have for pool rental, and then the possibility of them 2 hours to have the concession open, because we'll still maybe be able to do that for that pool rental, we have to charge at least $225, figuring out how many lifeguards we got. Now, what I'm saying, 0 to 25 swimmers, we need 4 lifeguards. From 25 to 50, we need 5 lifeguards. From 50 to 75, we need 6 lifeguards. And that's how it goes. And that's how it's based on of getting the money. So the more people after 25, we are going to get $3 more. We will make money, not a lot of money, but we should come out ahead on every pool rental based on this formula. Okay? No matter how we look at it.
They don't have 25, you're not going to rent it to.
If they have up to 25, it will be rented for $225.
Yeah, if they have 2,
They have 2, it's $225.
225.
Yep, that's just the way it is.
Yep.
Okay?
I'd be that guy.
Because the reason why that is it's a great question, Chuck. The reason why, because we have to have lifeguards
All the kids are all
regardless. And we gotta pay them lifeguards for 2 hours, that's just the way it is. You know, we gotta have an assistant manager, and we gotta have an admissions person, so we got 6 people that we gotta staff for 2 hours. So we gotta have that money, okay?
They have 4
Okay.
lifeguards.
So, as far as the rentals on Saturdays, and you can see on Saturday and Sundays, that's what we're doing.
Trying to keep my wood around my neck.
Open swim will be the same on the weekends, 12:30 to 5. Concessions will be open. We will close the pool at 5 o'clock to 6. Back at 6 o'clock on Saturdays, we'll have another pool rental opportunity in the evening, where people, I think, are really going to like that. Instead of having it On Saturday morning and Sunday morning, they may have a chance to come in, they will have a chance on Saturday evening to rent the pool, which I think will be a good hit, big hit. But on Sunday, as you can see, we did family night. That means families, you gotta have an 18-plus adult present to consider yourself as a family to come in to use the facility.
So it's
Okay.
not free daycare.
Correct. So when it all comes down to it, after doing this, doing that, I really believe that I think this will really work out good to our benefit. We will save quite a few costs, and which that goes into the next part is basically, first of all, before I go into this, is there any questions on the format? Anything that you guys believe that won't work or would work? I mean,
We won't really know if it won't work until we try it.
exactly.
I had a couple questions for you, Ronnie.
Yep.
Just from previous conversations that you had mentioned, do you think the breaks will help keep the lifeguards at work? Or will they say, I don't want to go home for an hour and come back at 6 to 8 p.m. for a pool rental or for family night, when I could just go to work at 3 o'clock at Culver's and work to through 8 o'clock? Do we think those breaks will impede us from retaining pool staff separate from pay per hour? Will this impede on that?
Great question, Ryan. I agree with that question, and my answer is no.
Okay.
When I talked to other area pools, I said, did it seem like the kids would hang around the pool? Absolutely not. They go home.
Yep.
They come back in. The key is going back to the monthly schedule, not the weekly or the 2-week schedule.
Yep.
The kids come to school, they are gonna look at their schedule, and they're gonna know that, hey, I'm gonna be working on that day of June 22nd, and I know that I gotta work the open swim, but I also know that I'm scheduled to come in to work on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for that open swim. But I can go home, have lunch quick, I'm gonna have that 6.5, 7-hour shift. We're not gonna have these 2 or 3 different shifts where people come in. When you get put on that schedule, you're gonna have that 6.5, 7-hour work thing. That's what it's gonna be. And that's gonna help us if someone can't make it, 'cause you said it, Ryan, possibly another job, getting sick, a family vacation, or sports things. We have a lot more people to be able to choose from to come in and fill in for them when we don't have 16 or 19 people going to work on one day, you know, then your availability to get a sub really lessens, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's a great question.
Yep.
Great question.
And
So,
if there's not a pool rental on a Saturday or Sunday morning or evening on those specific times, is the pool just closed and we're saving costs?
very much
Okay.
so.
Yep.
Just, I'm learning the ropes. This is my first time around.
Yep,
Okay.
very much so.
I think your baseball department, your evening sporting events that are happening, I know the baseball program was concerned about only having evening swim lessons, so I think they'll be very happy to hear that you still have that option.
Yep.
Because they were really afraid that only evening swim lessons would really conflict with T-ball or youth baseball or softball. They were concerned, but they had brought that to me.
Yep.
And they were concerned about that, so I think they would say thank you to you for making sure that we have both those options in place. I think parents will too that want to go watch their kiddos, so thank you.
Yep, sounds good. Any other questions on this format?
On the concessions?
Yep.
You get the Monday, Wednesday, Friday of open swim
Yep,
from 6 to 8.
yep. That's an option, Greg.
Good.
I'm gonna leave that open. If we want to have the concessions opens, that would be totally, basically, I'm gonna leave that up to you guys as the park board. If you want me to schedule people for that Monday, Wednesday, Friday to come in and work an evening to have concessions, I have no problem with
It
that.
seems to me concessions have been profitable,
They have been profitable.
so it's just,
But
Right.
the problem that we have had in the past is that we don't have a lot of numbers in the evening. You know, and I didn't get that to you guys, but as in past, and I talked to Jan even about this, our numbers are down in the evening as swimmers. When you swim from 12:30 to 5, a lot of people,
they go home, they're tired, then they stop.
they stop.
Would that be a good opportunity on those Monday, Wednesday, Fridays to allow food trucks to come in? You might increase your number of swimmers, because parents might show up then going, oh, all right, food truck's gonna be over there, I wanna have a nice food truck meal.
Pool's closed at 5 to 6,
Yeah.
eat or something, then go back in and
They
swim.
can come, they
I
can come
mean,
back, swim. It might increase the number of people in the pool, but it does not increase the amount of costs we have in terms of paying someone to run the
Run the
food area
concession.
that we already see doesn't have a lot of people. And it would appease
Good
those
option.
food trucks to have that opportunity to come to the park.
It's a good option.
Everyone is a win-win there, something to think about.
Question is a food truck gonna wanna come for, set up for 2 hours?
I have no idea. Maybe it's...
Say they do or say they don't, I don't know.
Well, that should be 3, they could really,
Yeah, we
because the
could
pool
say it
closes
from
at 5.
you could
So
say
from
from 5 to 8, 5 to 10. I mean,
So-
you've got softball there,
You
you've got
got,
other
you got
events.
adults,
Yep.
yeah, you got different things going on,
But
so.
that's another option.
Yeah,
That's a great
it might
option.
bring in more people just to swim and make us more money.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
No.
Oh, on the bottom, excuse me, I just quick like, the pool rates, we're all keeping the same. There is a couple changes that we are gonna do. First of all, you go under season memberships. Everything, the price is all the same as that we had last year. The only difference is that we are not offering a $10 discount for early registrations. It is what it is, that's what we're charging. Also on daily admissions, we are not offering
Go
the
back.
oh, did I
We're
forget?
not gonna add that extra person fee.
Yeah, we're not gonna add the extra person
So
fee.
like if
Remember
you have a
after
family of
over 4,
5?
you had to add this, we will not do that, 'cause it's just, for this first year, we are gonna get a new software program, by the way, and we're gonna be getting all trained on that, and we wanna try to get it all put in together. But I just feel at this time, we should be just as fine doing these memberships. The difference with daily admissions is, number one, as you can see, we charge $6 from 12:30 to 5. The pool is closed. If you come back in the evening swim, you will be charged $3 if you're gonna swim again, okay? As a daily fee thing. All the pools that do have opening swimming in the evenings do charge a lesser rate than the $6. They usually go half cost. I mean, Chatfield, Stewartville, they all go half cost. So that's where I come up with the $3, that you're only swimming for 2 hours, so $3, okay? So, as far as a membership, you come in, you swim in the afternoon, you go home for supper quick, you wanna come back, your membership still is good, you just go through the line, you're set to go. Okay? Red Cross lessons, still 45, lap swim, 3, season pass, everything else is all pretty much the same, okay, as far as what we had last year. Okay?
With not increasing a lot of the costs, where is the increase in the pay offset for lifeguards?
The payoff comes in when we don't have the amount of hours based on what we had last year. Now, we go back into this thing, if you guys look at that.
Yep.
If you look at this first page, it says, in 2022, Monday through Friday, using 2020, this is this year's wages. As you can see, that first line, lifeguards were paid $10.83. Admission people were paid $9.08. Assistant manager was, the supervisors were $13.58. Okay? All this stuff, when it all, I figured out what we're doing here is all based on here. Okay? This program that we're gonna have is based on all these numbers here. So, as you can see, if we, on a swim lesson week, when it's swim lessons for 5 weeks, our total cost to run our pool was $7,266, okay, a week. And then you times it by 5 weeks, so that's where you come up with the $36,000 for the swim lesson week. That's gonna cost us individual, our city, to pay for that. Down to the next one, the non-lesson weeks, where we have a total of 7 more weeks. The total cost for a non-lesson week was $61,150, which was $42. So you add both of them up to do our Monday through Friday, swim lesson week and non-swim lesson week. Monday through Friday is a total of $79,000, based on this year's wage.
Have you included when are you ending the pool date? Because the school picked their calendar. Have you seen that? The
Yep.
school has pushed it back to after Labor Day. So they're not going back before Labor Day next year. So will the pool be open that additional week like it was in the past?
No.
No,
We will
okay.
close the pool, the normal, the same, and we'll still do the Memorial Day weekend. So our weeks Our weekdays, Monday through Friday, will be based on a 12-week period. On our weekends is gonna be based on 13 weeks because of Memorial Day weekend, okay? So when it all comes down to it, as you can see how I figured everything out, at the end, when you look at Saturday and Sunday, our total wages using this year's wage would cost us $110,000 right now. Now you're gonna say, how much did we spend this year with our old programs? Anybody have an idea? We spent $131,877 in wages. So as you can see, we're gonna save $21,000 on our new program with the same wages.
Yep, that's smart.
So that's a good thing.
A lot of lost wages last year then.
Right. So, and we budgeted 155. Remember that. Our budget is 155 for wages. And we came in at only 131,877. So we had a profit of about 23,000 in our budget for wages. But now we are gonna save another 20-some thousand for that wages. Which brings us to the next page, the proposal for this year. Okay? Which, if you go to this page, you can see that I kind of put out this year's wages, and after, oh gosh, it took me 2-3 weeks to figure this out, but based on these wages, this is what we can afford to do this coming season with our pool program set up this way. Our increases, first of all, minimum state wage for, Tim, I just want to explain this first-year employee. Last year, Tim made the suggestion that state rules, we can legally get by with paying $1 less for the first-year employee on the minimum wage scale. So we can legally do that, and that's what we did. Let's see, minimum wage last year, or this year, was $10.08. We paid $9.08 for the first-year employee. Now, this next year, minimum wage went to $10.33, so we can pay the first-year employee $9.33. Lifeguards. First year, and any years, if you've been here 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever, your increase went up $2.17 to $13, which is really good comparable to guys and girls making money at McDonald's and stuff like that per hour. The WSIs, we wanted to treat them a little bit more because we want the incentive for them to go get this, the WSI certification. I gave them a $2.67 increase up to $14.50. Assistant managers is a key to our program. It's going to be up to me and Abby to find a good manager after Abby's only going to be here for 1 year. We need to find a manager out of the 4 that we're going to hire this year that can go on to be the possible future manager for our pool. We got 7 candidates right now that we're going to interview that have been at the pool, and I think we got some good people, and Abby's happy with the ones that wanted to do it, so hopefully we can find someone that's going to stand above. But we increased that also to $267, $16.25, and then the manager we increased $217 to $20.50. So based on all these wages of the increase, which leads us to the next one, as you can see, it's kind of the same thing how I did it. I added and put everything all in for the 2022 wages, and the total end of the cost comes up $131 grand. Basically, and I couldn't believe this, the same thing that we paid this year. So we can afford to give these raises to the people based on our new hourly format of how we're going to run our pool. We should have no problem. Now, you got to have some contingency in there. And the reason why I say that, probably about 7,000 maybe, I'm thinking, because number one, if Abby's going to work on a shift or something, she is getting paid more than the assistant manager. If we have a WSI scheduled for lifeguarding and they're making $1.50 more than a lifeguard, there's going to be a little bit more money here, okay? So I figure with another contingency of about another 5, our totals could be close to 135 to 137 for the year. We still budgeted 155. It's still in our budget for 155. So that's basically what I thought that we could do and still manage have a good program, have good kids involved, having the kids get a decent wage and get put up there, competing with other area businesses, like going to Rochester. I think we did a good thing here. Tim looked it over and he thought it was really well. He thought it looked good. Yep, she glanced at it and she thought it was very good too. So everything as far as financing, I think we should be able to do it. And what I was telling Jan today, in the future, after I leave, I've got this whole system into my computer. And you as park board members can always look at, or the next person who in charge can always look at what kind of wage increase in the future that you want to do. It's so easy to plug in now new amounts of money, and you can have a formula and a program to see basically how many lifeguards we need on these days, and it really will work out fine. That pool is not going to change as far as how many people we need to facilitate that facility. We know we're going to have 9 lifeguards in open swim. We know we're going to have 6 concession workers, plus admissions, and someone out on the road to let the kids across the street. We know we got to have 2 assistant managers on duty during them open swims. One takes care of injuries, complaints. The other one is going around making sure everybody's doing their job. We know that. So, it's pretty good.
What is the average hours per week for a lifeguard? What are they working? 15, 20, 30, 40 hours a week?
Usually we get close to be 35 hours a week, 35.
Is that the same with the WSI?
Depends on if it's lessons week or not.
Okay. I look at that 1450 and I go, is 1350 a big enough difference between, or 1450 and 13? Is that a big enough difference to justify having, if I was a lifeguard, I didn't really want to teach swim lessons, but you asked me, and I had to have that WSI, is that extra $1.50 enough per hour, which is $40 a week after math and taxes? Is it with the way our kids are these days, where someone will just say, I'm not going to work tomorrow, just give me money? Is that enough to get them to jump to that level? Because you want to maintain your WSIs. I look at, that's the only number I would like to see maybe go up a little bit to like 15 if possible. I know that's a big number, but if that's what keeps us bringing in revenue with swim lessons, and we need those people, is that gap of $1.50 enough to boost them up? I don't know. You would know better than me, right? That's why I just asked.
I mean, and once again, like I said in the beginning, I ask a lot of area pools, so basically how they do it. Our structure, as far as our pay, I'm going to tell you this right now, is above everybody else.
Yeah.
We're going to be paying more than everybody based on pool. Okay? My biggest concern was, number one, is that when I looked at this year's wages, and we were looking at them, and it made me almost kind of feel like, what were we doing? No wonder we were having problems of kids, like you said, Ryan, wanting to have other jobs. You're paying a WSI $11.83 an hour to teach lessons, why some other area towns were paying $12.50 to $13 when I checked. So we were probably $1.25 already behind. And I can understand where we had the problem. Now, with this increase, $267, that's quite an increase, And
I agree.
But I agree with you on one end.
I look at it as, last year it was only $1 difference. Now it's $1.50, so it's gone up 50% compared to the two. I'm just wondering if a little bit more would incentivize people. I don't know, I'm just asking the question. You would know the answer.
Right, so how many kids have a WSI?
Well, first of all, we only got probably 3 on staff right
Okay.
now, and we have to have 6. But we got kids, I've already got that lined up, which they gotta go over to Owatonna and Abby and me have recruited, hopefully, we got 6 or 7 people that want to go get their WSI in January. Once we get 6 or 7 on staff, we'll have no problem. But Abby has already told the kids, basically, that for sure they are going to for sure they're going to get a raise. She didn't know exactly, because she hasn't seen this, but she notified that most of the kids are going to be getting raises, and having someone like Abby, I guess, to get this all going is we're so lucky. Because she's a teacher and she still communicates with the kids in school, and she communicates with me and us looking at it. But it depends on what you guys want to do, you know.
Well, here's my thought. We were behind last year, dollar-wise, compared to what others were, as you just said. So, $2.67 was really only $1.67 increase, if we were a buck behind already. So I have to kind of agree with Ryan. Get to the $15 range, make it $2 is a big difference between $1.50 and $1. And if you're only going to have 7 or 8 WSIs, and you take that throughout your year of what you're paying your 7 WSIs for the year, you're only going to increase it $1,000. Not even that. So at a $155,000 budget, we're sitting at 130 something.
That's fine. I can implement it in there.
What you're instilling is, you're telling the other communities that we will always be the #1 spot for the people that come get their WSIs and work here, because we're going to get, if pickings get tight, and they say, I'm going to go to the Byron Pool, or I'm going to go to Dodge Center, because they're pretty close, and you get that extra little wage, you're going to be turning WSIs away because we've got too many. That's the idea of retail, and in a situation, you want to make sure that you can get staff versus have to go find staff. For $1.50, do I want to go teach swim lessons, or would I not waste my time? And you're right, some kids just say, just pay me, doesn't matter, but for the ones that want to say, I'll be willing to do it, compensate them for it. I find myself doing that at my work too. I got some high school kids that are probably outworking some of my regular staff. I'm going to compensate them for doing a great job. So you're saying, Ryan, maybe go to 15 instead of 14.50, or go 15.25?
I'd try 15 for maybe a year and see how it goes. If it increases your number of WSIs, I like the increases on every other one. I really appreciate that you looked into that, and that's an area I think you'll bring in more staff. And I worked for the city when I was in high school, and I was not making nearly that much when I was a kid, coaching baseball and umping. So it's nice to see that it's putting money back into our kids in our community. And we've had so many kids work for the park department over the last 30 years that I think 15 would just, $2 more an hour is $80 a week. $80 a week to a kid, they might like that more than 40. It's getting close to that Benjamin Franklin $100 bill a week that they want to see. And so I think 15
I would go less than 15.
I think 15's a good start, maybe. And it gets closer to that assistant manager. Now I'm a WSI making 15. Well, I want to maybe be that assistant manager next year. I'm going to make a little more responsibility you keep. Otherwise, you might just get stuck in one spot because it's less work at times. I don't know.
I hate to have us beg lifeguards to become WSIs. They're like, well, why?
And
if money was the issue, it's like, well, that's not that much.
If you don't add 10 more WSIs, it's not going to be as much money anyway.
So, I love the layout. I love everything you've done and how it works, but like you said, you were surprised at your number when you came out. It's like, geez, we're at the same we were last year. That's a perk right there. So we do have some flex factor.
But our big thing is like how we change the format of how the pool is going to run. We all got to remember
and people will get used to that.
If we kept the old format, we could never do this.
No.
Right.
No.
But I think that we're spending money more wisely, which is, I think,
staffing the pool.
It makes taxpayers happy to hear that this change is making a benefit not only to our kids that work at the pool, but it saves them money because we're using the money wisely.
Yep.
So I think that is great in both aspects.
Okay. So with that, any other questions? Because then we can have the recommendation on this, and then we can...
I just had one more, I know I'm
Yep,
that guy
go
today,
ahead.
sorry. We have, and I don't know how to approach this properly, we have some businesses that watch a large number of students, of kids. They bring in, and they come in once a week, twice a week with busloads of kids. Maybe I just don't see it on here, but is there a way to charge them a small additional fee? Because it's great that they're coming and they're bringing in revenue already, but to have that number of people come in as a group also deters people from coming as well. If I have my 6-year-old and I see 2 busloads pull up, I go, no, Nora, we're not going to the pool. I'm not dealing with kids that aren't being watched by the 17-year-old kid that gets paid by Just Like Home or Project Kids to watch those kids. I'm not going to take my one daughter to the pool because there's so many kids that don't have a parent there at that time. Is there a rate that we could charge, a small fee or something, say, we appreciate you coming, but at the same time, we do lose probably some people saying, oh, went to the park, saw the pool, there's no way I'm going with all those buses there. So we do lose some revenue when those businesses bring a line of 150 kids in, even though they're paying. Has that ever been approached? Has that ever been thought of to say, okay, you're a business, you're coming in, it's a $50 fee a week or a month to have your company, your business work with us?
You know, if we're talking Just Like Home or Project Kids, they're considered a business, you know?
Yep.
The word cater's not it, but we kind of went above and beyond to make sure that we were satisfying that group.
That's basically a pool rental.
Yeah, because
I'm getting at.
basically we tried to do everything we possibly could do to have them kids set up for, number 1, swim lessons, and number 2, knowing basically what days of the week when they do come, and that stuff. And did we charge anything extra for it? Nope. Did we feel like we made money on it? No. But I know that we ended up having a situation, a problem as far as swim lesson. We would go over our minimum as far as to give the kids lessons. So when I'm talking a couple different things, but as far as charging a fee for another business or another group, like say Mankato or Byron or something.
You know, since COVID, those numbers dropped. Last year, we hardly got groups. So I don't know if it'll change this year.
Yeah. You're saying, yeah, you can rent the pool, you get the whole space, costs $225 for 25 people, but businesses like that bring, 50 to 100 kids in, and they don't pay a pool rental, and they're literally doing the same thing, they just have to intermingle with everyone else. But that prevents some people, when they see that, go, I'm not taking my child today because I see how many kids just showed up in a bus.
You know, I haven't done the math on that, you know, but like say, we charge, say you're right, say they bring in 125 kids, and our lifeguards are already on staff, okay, and we charge $225 plus $3 additional after 25 kids. There's a lot of money there, you know, so I don't know if we'd break close to even on that.
We shouldn't lose money when they come.
No.
So I don't know if other pools do something, when I worked at the YMCA and other places, we were charged a different fee. We were charged a different fee than a local person would have been, even though we maybe are going to the local pool, going to the Silver Lake pool, we got charged differently back then.
So like if, what you're saying, Ryan, is Project Kids wants to come use the pool, they still gotta pay all their fees.
Kids do, they have to have their pool pass or
Then they
have
gotta have an additional fee?
But because you're bringing in, you're renting the pool, in my mind, they are renting the pool at that point. When you bring over 25 people as a group, you are renting a portion of the pool. I'm not saying that they have to pay $225, but a business that brings in over 25 kids should have to have an additional cost to offset some of those things, because they are putting a lot of strain on our staff. They are putting a strain on our food because we have to be maintaining that constantly. And you're also putting a strain on some of the people that wanna go with their kids but don't wanna deal with 100 kids showing up that have 8 supervisors. They're paying us to watch their kids, is what's ended up happening at times. They're not bringing a 2-to-1, a 5-to-1 ratio of staff to kids, they're bringing a 1-to-15. We end up babysitting a lot of those kids. So a small fee, a $50 a week fee, or $20, $25 a time fee, I don't know what the number is, I'm just throwing numbers out, but I think you should charge a fee for businesses within the community to use us as a secondary facility. Because they don't have their own pool, they're using our pool as a facility to watch their children. I
see where you're coming from, and in a way it makes sense.
It's not gonna deter them from coming, because they'll just increase their rates to their people.
Right, but the challenge is, well, it's not really a challenge, as you figure in, how do you charge that then based on every time they show up? I need an extra $25.
If they're telling you ahead when they're coming, and you know that ahead of time, you can have it as a weekly, a monthly, a one-time fee, however you want to structure it. It's our pool. We can structure however we want. I think it's fair to ask, if we're losing money because they're coming, we should increase something to offset some of those costs. Not to recoup 100%, unless we want to, but we should recoup something when a business comes in, drops off 100 kids with 10 staff, and all of a sudden, we've got those 100 kids, and then maybe we lose 15 because parents don't want to deal with that.
But I'm gonna throw this out there to be a devil's advocate. We gained 100 kids and lost 15. So, in the realm of the fees, we probably made more. If they wouldn't have shown up, we would've made less. So,
we're gonna make the same, because those people, I'm guessing, I didn't look at the numbers, what percentage of project kids, or just like home kids, have a pool pass? If it's 80%, because they know they're gonna be going 3 times a week, 2 times a week, they're gonna buy a pool pass. So we've already got the money from them. If a daily person comes, they're gonna leave. So, there's so many variables we can't.
no, and that's the other side.
If they've already paid for their pool pass for the year, it doesn't matter to us, it's just affects.
I look at it this way, we have a max of 572 people in our pool. I don't care who comes to use our pool. I don't care if it's 80 people from Just Like Home or 150 from Like Home. My goal is to fill that pool from 12:30 to 5 o'clock.
Yep.
And they're paying $6 no matter what, during that hour. If you're basing it on your membership or you're basing it on your daily fee, we are getting the money and that stuff. And then to charge that group extra money, because our staff is still there. We still got 9 on staff, either as 572 people, or if there's 250, we're still paying the same rate. So it's not costing us any more money to fill that pool to 572 than to have 250. So I look at it as that if we can fill it every day, and know that we're making that revenue every day.
And they're buying concessions every day. I mean, I understand your concept, Ryan, don't get me wrong, I understand what you're saying, but I look at it as that the total amount of people that are there for the day. Now, you might have an argument when we have a heck of a warm day and 572 max, and 80 kids from Project Kids come up there and take some other kids' positions because we can't have more come in. But that hasn't happened very often. No.
They're eluding a pool rental fee. That's my only concern, is we're allowing in a way you're allowing a pool rental fee when you allow a group of 25 to come during normal pool hours. And a group that brings 50 to 100 kids is definitely evading getting away from a pool fee, a pool rental fee, by doing that.
And that, like I said, I mean, if Project Kids brings 80 kids, this is what I'm saying, if they bring 80 kids and say that's $6 a pop, that's $480. Think of that, just think of that. That's $480. And we charge $225, and we'd have to have 35, is it 45? 45 extra at $3, it's $120, it's almost a wash. You see what I'm saying? It's almost a wash.
So we're not gonna lose any money. And you said that, we're not gonna lose money that way. So if we charge them an extra $50 or $25 for every time that they would come, yeah, you're right, we're gonna make money on it.
They're still gonna come.
They're still gonna
They're
come.
not going to not come because we are their second facility.
Well, it's, not to say it wrong, but it's an inconvenience fee.
It's a
It's
pool,
really-
it's a pool rental fee. I would say it's a pool rental fee, because you are renting the pool when you bring more than 25. That's the way, that's how I justify it.
But if they would come, they would say, okay, if we have to pay this pool rental fee, we're gonna rent the pool, we're gonna shut everything down. And then what?
But they can't, there's
It's
only,
not a-
there's
it's not a- it's-
only a certain time you can rent
You
the pool.
don't call it a pool rental fee, but that's what they're doing in essence, is they're renting the pool out, even though it's open.
I don't think it's gonna work. I think they're gonna quit coming.
They could.
Well, I'd say at this point, let's go with what we got with the new hours and see how this goes, something to review for, you know,
I
how many
think that's
buses do
fair.
we get?
Last
And
year,
where are
like
they
you
coming
said,
from?
Last year
Last year was
was
down to
COVID,
nothing.
nothing.
So,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be a whole different challenge, and if you start getting buses from,
Mankato used to come
You know,
several times.
say this year you start
Whatever,
getting these
Kingdom
buses
kids out of
everywhere.
Rochester used to come.
now we're gonna have a, you know, for every bus you pull in, you know, the bus driver's gonna have to pay $50 or something, because they're not gonna all go to KM school and take the bus to the pool. So it's gonna be an outside fee more so than an internal, so.
Well, should we just leave it as this for now, and then Ryan, I'm not
See where
trying to
you're coming
sit there
from,
and
I do.
saying.
I'm trying to come from the council's perspective. Any money you add in to costs, money coming back to the pool and breaking even or end up hopefully not hurting us too bad, you have bigger projects coming up to fix things within the pool, building those fees, you can help save that money.
To be honest with you, we made money this year at the pool.
That's what we want. A facility like that should make money. It should. It is a
When I
business.
got-
So then here becomes a question, do the other pools, other communities, do they have a fee that bring in buses?
I don't know.
And that would be, if nobody does, we're creating a, you know, a new drip, but if there are fees out there charging for bus loads, then we know we could get on the board and add that in somehow, so.
Our fees are, I think, fair. I mean, look at Tot Time. We use Tot Time for years. If you go every day for Tot Time, it's basically free.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you're offering it in the PM too, you're gonna see families come in the morning with mom or dad, and they're gonna come in the evening with grandma and grandpa, or vice versa. They're gonna bring somebody else in the afternoon. They're gonna come again. Because for $25 for the whole summer, I loved it. That was my favorite part about the pool, was Tot Time. You're gonna see an increase in usage there, and that fee is very fair. I mean, I would love to see that go up even $5 more, just because that's gonna get used. But that's beside the point.
So, can I have a recommendation, a motion?
I would make the recommendation of taking the 2020 pool hours, staff salaries, and all other aquatic center 2022 plans within our minutes here to be approved.
Your second,
And with that $15 change on,
With the adjustment of the
$15.
WSI.
Yep, $15 per hour.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Sounds good.
Great work.
Yes, you should, have them pay you extra for your,
I first looked at that and I went, what did you do?
Jan knows how
oh, he's
I
been
come
working
up
on
here
it
every,
forever.
Jan, I wanna have it done, but it's kinda, so, but anyway, it worked out great. Thank you, you guys. Okay, next one is park board appointments, Greg and Roger, and Jan already had said about Roger's just kinda looking on the health wise, and he'll get back to us here probably.
Yeah.
Let us know. How about you, Greg?
21 years I've been here?
Yep.
Can't end an odd number.
Well, it's one of those things that somebody's gotta be here to make sure the new person that will replace you is going in the right direction.
It's okay, that sounds good.
Might even convince them to start forestry.
I'm not gonna say, I'm not, okay, so if you create a forestry division, I quit, that wouldn't make sense. Or if you create a forestry division, I stay, I'll be here a long time probably still, but I hope that.
All
I
right.
can't say I'm gonna stay here until you create a forestry division. Yeah, I'll go 3 more years.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
Yeah,
Appreciate
you're
it.
welcome, absolutely glad to.
Okay, old business, Stonewall signage. There's a letter here that Janet had sent to Tim and myself about, asking about having some type of signage similar to, not maybe similar, but something that what they did at the tower, recognizing the wall and all the, you know, maybe the years of history and whatever on it, and she would like to see, now, as far as the funding of the sign and stuff, I guess I'm gonna leave that up to you, Janet. You can kinda discuss what your thought process is.
Okay, we're kind of thinking like Manorville has down at the river. They have those big, signs, and it's history stuff out there. And I know the Legion has one up there at up there for their stone and everything. And we'd like to put something up there talking about the history of the wall. You know, 'cause like my husband found out how many people worked on the wall, how much they got paid, and things like that. We don't want to just have the black sign saying, okay, well, this is thing, and this is the history about it. We'd like to have something telling people about this wall, why it's important to keep it, and things like that. Yes, I know it's 1938 and things like that, but we'd like to have the history about it, and, you know, just maybe some pictures, if we can come up with some pictures. Well, we have some of what it looked like when it was first built. There was the open space, there was a hedge in there and stuff, and what, the road is there that they drive through with their trucks and everything, what that was for. That was the entrance to the park and things like that. So we'd like to kind of have some signage up there, you know, the one sign, and have the history about the wall. We would fund that from the Save the Wall funds. So it wouldn't be any cost to anybody else. It would be...
You're just looking for permission to put a sign
Yeah,
up?
yeah. And I said that we would work with Ron and Tim to do it and stuff. So it wouldn't be just whatever we want to do. It would be, you know, a group decision here. But, you know, the Save the Wall Committee would like to do that.
Does that committee have the money in the budget now to do that? And
We do.
okay. Are we up to date on all the other bills or payments towards the updating of the wall?
Yes. I just have the question, we talked about the cement work behind the wall.
That's all getting done in the spring.
Okay, and the one pillar is kind of leaning. The two guys that worked on the wall, I talked to them both separately, and they suggested pumping some cement underneath that one corner to kind of hold it up so it won't fall more. Could we possibly do that too? It wouldn't take much cement, I don't think, but they said...
That would have to be, I'd have to ask Sheldon to see, and basically, you'd probably have to have a mud jacker do that. You know, that'd have to be a whole separate entity as far as hiring somebody to come in to do that. But I know Sheldon would probably do that part of it, but we'd have to have someone who does mud jacking, just like they do on sidewalks or curbs, whatever, to kind of level things up. We'd have to find out who could do that and get a price from them that would charge, and that would be one thing. But as far as like kind of what Ryan was saying, as far as the funds and stuff, we have paid out quite a bit of the money. We also paid Sheldon $4,100 for his he just got us a bill, $4,100 for the tear out of the cement to the sidewalk and then putting rock back in there and hauling rock in there for John. So we'll have to pay him too. So we're already into over close to $40-some thousand. And so I don't know where the funds are. The funds going to get deposited into the city here pretty soon, or because we're going to have the money.
Well, we would come up with the money for the sign, yes.
But no, we're talking the money for the wall.
Total wall.
Okay, well, we haven't seen, okay, we agreed, I shouldn't say we agreed, but the community agreed to paying for the funds for the wall. We didn't specify sidewalk and things like that, so that's, I think that the community would not be happy if we put the money out for the sidewalk, because we talked about that in the beginning, that if the wall didn't get fixed and it came down, the city would have to fix that part anyway. So that's when issue, we would have to discuss. But, you know, we did discuss the wall. Any letters that we sent out, we said the wall. We didn't say the sidewalk and curb and gutter.
Okay.
Is one thing.
Well, I look at it as the wall project. I think that would be more the community term of support the wall.
First of all, you weren't gonna repair that wall and not replace the sidewalk, because that would not even,
Yeah,
really, to be
I know.
honest with you,
So,
look good.
you know, I look at, you know, what you're asking the community to do is support the project,
Well,
which is like building a house but not putting any dirt around it.
the letters weren't worded that way. I didn't do the letters, I'll say that. But I know the
realize
letters
this.
weren't worded that.
But I don't wanna have you twist it to say that we're not paying for the base and the surrounding because we just want to pay for the stone and the tuck point.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know, I mean, that's what the letter was worded as.
So
wall.
I think what, more the question is, with the monies that were raised, are you prepared to give that to the city to help pay for the bills that are due, first of all?
Well, we
Or are
can
you,
get some.
or are you now retaining the money to say, we don't wanna, we're only paying specifically for, you know, the guy that did the repair of the wall, but not for the stuff around? I mean, that would've been a conversation that should've been brought up before.
Well, I don't know, I'd
Before
have to
commitment.
talk to,
And like I said, I'm going back to all those little donation spots that you had out, you know, they're donating towards your project. You know, whether you said the wall, if you start nitpicking, saying, and also the sidewalk, and also the, you know, the paver base, and then the pavers, you're not gonna get that, and so obviously you're just saying this is a save the wall project. That's what the money went to. And I think that's what you have to look at that, for the monies that you had taken in for donations and contributions or whatever. I think that's the group that we're asking for. So, that's my take on that. Now, as far as the sign, it'd be a great idea to put up there to get the information. Now, whether you have to raise more money, or you just, you know, we put the box back out and say, you know, here's to help finish your project and now get the signage up there, you know, let's finish the project. Because at this point, I don't think patrons know exactly, you know, where all the funds are, how much was raised.
there's supposed to,
We don't have to break it down for them.
there's supposed to be a thank you in the paper, and the
So-
person that wrote the thank you gave the amount that was raised.
Okay, which is fine, and then there still could be projects.
And what was that amount?
Well, it's about 43,000.
Okay, so I look at it, here's the deal. The whole total project of the cost of that whole thing was $66,000. If you raised 40-some thousand and we got 30,000 from the legacy grant, that's $75,000 to complete that whole project, plus pay for John to stay at the hotel, plus all the extra work that he did on the pavers. And if we just did John's bill was already $49,000 plus another $3,500, so it's almost $53,000 paid to John for the wall. That's 53 grand, and you raised 45. Okay? So, we would like to have that money to go towards the wall, to pay John and get that all put up, done, and then the legacy grant comes in, we'll pay the remaining part of Sheldon. So, that's kind of the way the situation is, and when it all comes down to it, it's gonna be really close to the $70,000 for the whole total project.
Well, then if that's it, then we wouldn't have money to do the sign.
Well,
But money
you
could be
would.
brought up.
Yeah, we're looking at total of $66,000 for the wall and Sheldon's work and everything done. That still would leave, and we have 45 from you and 30, that's 75 grand. We have plenty of money extra with over.
About 43.
About 43.
We're less than 43 now, because we gave Diane some money. She did not get paid. So our committee felt that Diane should get paid. She came up here and worked, and so we did pay Diane.
But the thing is, there's money left over that we've committed to help pay for the sign that you want to get there, so you don't have to
There's
pay for this
30,000,
sign.
then you got, didn't you get 10,000, another 10,000?
That $10,000 was given to us by CARE.
CARE.
Because they,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That was
That's part of the 40,000.
Yeah.
So what I guess what I'm trying to say is that we have a total of $75,000 to go towards this project. 66,000 of it will complete the wall, minus the sign. We'll have money left over to do the sign. But what we need to do is we need to get the funds that were donated through your people to get it to the city so we can pay. Right now, the city's paying everything.
We haven't gotten any of it,
Nothing.
except for the care money.
Except for the $10,000 in care. We need the money.
Nobody's asked for it, so
Yeah.
I've been waiting.
Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is
Well,
that...
Tim said in July already, it should be turned over to the city,
Yeah.
because we were already
Our
paying
July
John.
Park Board, I think Tim said
Yeah.
something about it. But if you could do this, Janet, go back to the committee, the wall committee, and tell them basically, this is the total price of the wall, which it's $66, and I can get that to you. And with your $40,000 that you guys have raised, including the 10 from CARE, whatever, we get our legacy grant, we've got $75,000. We should have enough money to be able to get some sign out of that total money. That you
It
guys
won't
shouldn't
cost
have.
you anything.
Cost you nothing. So I guess the biggest thing is if we can get the donation money to the city, that's what we need. Because we need to get John paid for here. And it's at the end of the year, and we want to get it paid for in 2021 budget.
Was the sign originally part of the,
No.
No.
so the sign comes afterwards. I think
Right.
to be within good faith, I would suggest paying that first before a sign is approved by anyone. Not that the sign isn't wanted, it's wanted. And I think it'd be great to have history. I had to look up a lot of stuff to present at the, tree lighting ceremony. I wanted to make sure to honor a little bit of that, and it'd be great to have something. You talked about Manorville. Manorville has some nice signs around their parks. But if that wasn't part of the original plan, and we haven't paid off the funds of what the project was, it's in bad taste.
So whatever you can do, Janet, with your committee there, the wall committee, just ask them so we can get this, if they need to come up and, you know, how they ever gonna get a total check, or write a
essence-
check out, or whatever.
In essence, the wall work has already surpassed what you have for donations just for the wall. So that full amount will be put towards the wall and the
Now,
gentleman.
right now, I think we've paid John about 53,000.
So of your 43, that pays for 43 of the 53.
I know the hotel wasn't expected.
No, but that's not included in that 66. That's another extra $3,500 that,
He said he paid for the last week himself.
yeah, $784, yep, yep. So,
Yeah. Well, he had to have money to go to Wales, you know.
yeah.
Rich is going too,
Yep.
so.
But yeah, if you could do that and get that here to us out to City Hall, hopefully, but
Before year end would
before
be
the end of the
great.
year, that would be fabulous, you know, so we can get
We
this.
just pulled up the donation boxes not too long ago,
Okay,
really, so.
okay, that sounds good.
You know, kept them out there to, what irks me though is, I went down to Casey's in Manorville, and they had taken the box away during the truck show. I went to empty it, and I said, where's the donation box? Oh, it's here. Are you here to pick it up? I said, well, empty it. Can I not leave it here? Oh, yeah, you can. But they had taken it away. I was like,
Oh, really?
that would've been a good time to leave it out there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they got some
But,
more. But anyway, thank you guys, and I mean this, and I've told you this before, Janet, thank you guys for the effort for raising and donating the money. And I mean that, I mean,
Well, it
it's,
helps to have,
you know, so-
other people helping.
yeah. But if you guys can get that, that would be great, if you could do that for us and get that here.
Okay, I'll talk to them, work on that.
Okay, other than that, anything else?
Is the other night tree was not lit up? And half the wall was not lit up 2 nights
That's
ago?
all fixed. That should have been fixed.
I just,
Either that, the wind, well, the wind's gonna be
2
60...
days, I wanna say it's 2 days ago.
2 days ago?
The day we did the tree lighting, one of the lights
Oh,
on the
that's been
wall
fixed.
wasn't
That's been
working.
fixed.
Yeah, that's been fixed.
But 2 days
I-
ago, you were up there and saw
Well, I
it?
drove by to go up to Prairie Meadows, and I had to get Dad some milk, so that would've been Sunday.
Well, someone drive by
Sunday
tonight and
night.
see if it's
I
not
drove by
lit.
Sunday night, and the tree and half the wall wasn't lit up.
We'll probably be lucky that there's
And I
any
just thought
lights or
probably
any
a
tree left
breaker
after
or
tomorrow.
something. After the winds.
That tree will be down
5 miles an
tomorrow.
hour, yeah. So,
So I just,
we'll look at it.
I haven't gone up, but that was Sunday, yeah, Sunday. I drove by, I'm like,
What time do
"Free," and I had to make
what
a
time do they come
loop
on?
back.
I don't know, Ryan, I
Dusk,
heard you did a
I think
good
they come
job.
on like
I
at
didn't get
5:30,
there.
6 o'clock, probably 6
I was a little
o'clock.
nervous, but I didn't, it was okay.
It was
Yeah.
quarter after 7 when I got by, so.
Yeah, I teach, but I'm not a public speaker,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, well, I just thought, I'm
Other than that,
free, I'm like,
I
Did a
move
very
for
good job,
adjournment.
Ryan. Very good job. I was impressed.
yeah, we're booking you for next year.
I have some thoughts for next year.
Oh,
Perfect,
good.
that
Next
means,
meeting,
that
next
means he's in.
Next meeting. I'll second that motion for adjournment.
All
Hey,
in
the
favor?
first,
Oh, you did?
No, I move,
January
Oh, you
meeting.
moved. I'll make the motion to adjourn, sorry.
okay, there we go.
We are having a meeting in January, third week,
right now, yes, we'll see exactly
Okay.
what's all on the agenda.
and I might be in Kansas.
Sometimes January is kind of a,
Yeah.
Could wait and see if Robert meets with the city the
Right.
first meeting.
Yeah.
right.
Because if he doesn't, that's a big piece for us. If he doesn't meet, if he meets second meeting, I would say we wait until February so that we can discuss
Which
what,
would be fine,
yeah,
Wanna
just because
turn the thing off?
we'd want to,
best.
yeah,
There you go.
we'd want to know what was said there and